Hi, I'm Tess Hembry. I'm NARA's Director of Congressional Relations, here to give you an update on what's going on with fiscal year 19 spending. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that the fiscal year began on October 1st, and since then we've been funded under what's referred to as a continuing resolution. What that does is provide prior year funding levels to the current fiscal year. So in this case, we've been operating under fiscal year 18 spending levels for the past couple of months of fiscal year 19. Today, December 7th, the first continuing resolution that was passed by Congress before the beginning of the fiscal year expires at midnight. But luckily for us, Congress did approve another second two continuing resolutions that will provide funding for the government until December 21st. It's become a grand holiday tradition here in DC to push spending decisions as far into the holidays as possible, and this year is no different. So hopefully that's enough of a motivating factor for members who want to go home to their families for the holidays to get something done and finished. But the next 2 weeks are going to be really critical, and I'm going to talk you through some of the possibilities of what's going to happen between now and December 21st. So the first possibility is that they will come to some sort of an agreement and manage to pass a spending package that includes all of the unfinished appropriations bills for the year. Congress did manage to finish 5 of them before the beginning of the fiscal year on October 1st. That's the first time that they've done that in like 20 years. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was actually really good progress from Congress who wanted to demonstrate that they can govern before the midterm elections. So that was great to see happen. Unfortunately, THUD, or the Transportation HUD bill, was not included in those 5, and so they're now one of 7 appropriations bills that needs to be finalized for the fiscal year. It's possible that they can put all 7 of those bills into one spending package and get it done before December 21st. That would be great. The bills that we've seen come out of the House and the Senate for THUD look pretty good, so we'd be really happy with that. Unfortunately, though, there is one sticking point that's causing a lot of problems negotiating the bills, and that would be the Homeland Security Appropriations Bill. That contains funding for the border wall that the president would like, and some Republicans are pushing for. Democrats are very opposed to that and have been pushing back hard against funding the border wall. So we've been in a bit of a stalemate for the last few months about what to do over the border wall, and that's basically where we are with negotiations now. This week, negotiations were put on hold because of the funeral of President H.W. Bush. Leadership was supposed to go to the White House this week to talk things through. That meeting's been postponed until Tuesday. So we should have a better idea of how that meeting went and the direction that negotiations are going a little bit later next week. If that's not possible, if the meeting doesn't go very well at the White House on Tuesday, and if the leadership between the Democrats and Republicans just can't come together, there is the possibility of doing a full year continuing resolution for the final 7 bills. That would mean THUD, or Transportation HUD, would be funded under fiscal year 18 levels for all of fiscal year 19. That's not such a bad thing for us. Funding levels for 18 were really good, all things considering, and even programs like HOME would have higher funding levels for 18 than they do in the fiscal year 19 House and Senate bills. So really, actually not a bad situation for us to be in. The only caveat is that we would need what's referred to as an anomaly, or a little bit of extra funding for the Housing Choice Voucher program because of increased costs from year to year. So as long as we've got that anomaly in place, full year CR for us is okay. Another option for Congress would be to pass another partial year continuing resolution. And that's why I keep showing you 2 continuing resolutions, because we've seen some years where you have 5, 6, or 7. That's a situation that we would really like to avoid. The past 2 years, we've had continuing resolutions that last until January, February, April, and May. And that means that you guys are stuck without any budgetary certainty for a really long time in the fiscal year. We would prefer that Congress finalize spending regardless of whether they do a package agreement or whether it's just a full year CR. We just don't want to see you guys not have final year spending going into the spring again. It's not a good situation. If it's impossible for a spending package to be passed, a full year CR to be passed, or even a partial CR to be passed, we're facing a government shutdown. The rhetoric's pretty hot around the border wall, and it does seem possible that negotiations could sour quickly. If that's the case, there could be a shutdown that would be initiated at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, December 22nd. I suspect that Congress would like to leave D.C. sooner than that, So I would be surprised if that is the situation, but it is something to keep an eye on because it is technically possible at this point. And of course, that is not a situation that we want to find ourselves in either. So hopefully the next 2 weeks will go very well and we will get some sort of final year spending in place before the end of the 115th Congress this month. Make sure that you are telling your members of Congress that we need final year spending. There is a letter in the Advocacy Action Center right now that's been updated with the new continuing resolution and a push for an HCV anomaly. We have set the goal of sending 3,400 letters to Congress during the lame duck session, and last I checked, we were 464 letters short, so we need your help. So make sure that you're sending the letters, even if you've already sent the THEAD letter, there's a new one in there, so make sure you send it today. Finally, keep an eye out in January for some new trainings from NARO and from the Congressional Relations Department. We'll have a new Congress training fairly early in January so that you guys can hit the ground running with the 116th Congress. So stay tuned for that. And just keep an eye out for future videos and follow me on Twitter at TCHumbry for all the latest news from NARO. Happy holidays and hopefully we'll have a happy fiscal year 19. Thanks everybody.